Eric Darling here with Darling Data. Actually recording my final video for the evening, which I'm excited about because I can't wait to take a shower. I know it seems weird, but once you get on these video kicks, you just got to keep going until you've exhausted either yourself or your content. This is going to be the final video about how to write SQL Server queries correctly. In this video, we're going to talk about the output clause. Just like common table expressions, there is very little that you need to actually know about output. If anyone ever tries to say that they have information worth selling about output, they are full of it, and once again, should throw something heavy at them. They're not good people. In fact, they're terrible people. They're conning you out of money. This is free information that you should be able to find anywhere because there's not a whole lot that is very in-depth or very technical about it. If you like this content and you want to support this channel, you can actually spend money on it. I guess I'm kind of reversing course there a little bit. I actually don't want money for this video. Watch the other videos, and if you decide you're like, wow, this is a great channel, then you can give me $4 a month by clicking the link in the video description that says become a member, and then you're a member, and I get $3.10. If you don't have the $4, if you spent it all on the ponies or a pony, you can like, you can comment, you can subscribe, and that won't buy either of us a pony, but it'll feel good. If you need help with SQL Server, if it's slow, if it's annoying, if it's upsetting you in some way, I am available for hire. You can pay me money, and in exchange for that money, I will fix your SQL Server problems. And as always, my rates are reasonable. Speaking of reasonable man, the face of a reasonable man here. You can get all of my training for $150 US for the rest of your life. That's the URL, that's the coupon code. These are also helpfully glued together for you in the video description so that you don't have to do much thinking because you're probably tired of thinking. I will be out and about in 2025. I don't know where yet, but when I get there, I'll tell you. With that out of the way, let's talk about the laughably mundane output. Now, one of the most interesting things you can do with the output clause is use it to simplify archival processes. That's going to be the first demo that I show you. And that's really, if you stop watching there, I wouldn't blame you. The rest of it, eh. Output isn't very interesting, but maybe it will be to someone. The first thing is you can access the inserted and deleted tables to see modified values. Wow. So you write an insert or an update or a delete. You can throw the output clause on there. And you can see what changed. That's sort of a helpful thing. If it's a lot of rows, be careful. But, you know, when there's a lot of rows, you should be careful anyway. You don't need to select star from that 24 billion row table. You'll probably have a bad time. Output gets a lot more interesting when you use it with merge, but of course, then you have to use merge. And if you never write a merge statement, your life will be complete. I'm telling you, you're not going to miss out on much. The third thing about output is you need to be careful what you output data to. If you output to a client, whether it's SQL Server Management Studio or whatever client you write that accesses SQL Server, you will force the query, or rather, the more clear way of putting it is you will disallow a parallel execution plan. The same thing will happen if you use output into a table variable. For very small inserts, updates, and deletes, you probably won't notice this. But if you're using output for something like I'm showing you, you may notice it because for archival processes, you are usually modifying a lot more rows. Outputting to a temp table or a normal user table does not have that problem. Only outputting to a client and to table variables. So this is primarily how I use output. And I use it to make archival processes all one statement. Usually with archival processes, you're like, oh, like, I don't know, I'm gonna like
update these rows to mark them as deleted, or I'm going to delete these rows and or I'm going to insert these rows into the archive table and then go back and delete them. With output, you can do that all in one go because you can nest a delete statement and put that into a derived table. Note, I'm not using a common table expression here, just to spite you, common table expression lover 11357. So you can put, you can nest the data modification like delete. You can give it the output clause. Look at these wonderful rectangles I'm drawing for you. There's some symmetry in there, baby. And then you can select from that derived table, and you can insert, you can use that to drive an insert into an archive table. So if, let's say we do this, and we're already in the right database, and I'm going to put this into a transaction so that I can roll it back immediately. And I'm also going to turn on query plans because they're going to be of some interest to us. And we do this. Notice in our execution plan, we have a clustered index delete and then a clustered index insert. This is going to the votes table, and this is going to the votes archive table. And if we had, of course, if we had supporting indexes, this would be a lot faster, but you know, whatever. Not really the biggest deal here. And then I have a couple of validation queries where we make sure that everything that we cared about was deleted from votes and everything that we cared about was deleted into the votes archive table. And that is the case when we finish the query. These are all gone from the votes table and they only exist in the votes archive table. So a very, very handy way of simplifying archival processes when you're finally ready to purge some data out of those massively oversized tables of yours. Now, this is originally from, partially anyway, from a blog post that Aaron Bertrand wrote that I'm stealing the table definition from because it was easy. But thanks, Aaron. You're a sport. You're a curling pro. And so what I'm going to do is just for the sake of making it easy to do stuff, I'm going to use a transaction here. I'm going to show you what's in the table called my table, and then I'm going to do a merge into my table. And the primary thing that I want to show you is that when you use output with merge, you have access to two things that you don't have access to when you use output with a regular insert or update or delete. One is this special $ column called action. There's probably a fancy word for that I don't know. And the second thing is that you can access data from other tables involved in the modification query to see what values are in those. This can be very handy if you want to do like a delete and then an insert, and you want to maintain certain values from the table you're deleting from in the other table. It's pretty handy for some stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is run this whole thing. And really the results of this are what we care about. We don't care so much about performance or anything. But when we started off, our table, my table, had the IDs 1 and 4 in it. And when we ended, we had 1, 2, and 3 in it. And then this was the output, the result of the output clause. And so we have an update where we updated ID 1. We have an insert for ID 2, an insert for ID 3, because we only had 1 and 4 before. We didn't have a match for 4, so we deleted row 4. Now, what's neat about this is that word column. Why did you change colors on me? Let's correct that. Let's make sure that's the right color. We only use pink in this house. This source.word is from this. This was not anything that was in the table that we merged into, right? These values were not in there. They were only in here, but we could reference those with merge. So there are neat things you can do with output and merge that you can't do with regular DML statements. So that's the second thing that you should know about output clauses. The third, and this is I don't actually have to run any of these. I just have to show you the estimated plans for them. But if I make the target of my output query a temp table like this, we will be able to use at least a partially parallel execution plan here, right? There's nothing stopping us from being able to read from a table in parallel. Of course, modifications like inserts and updates and deletes are always going to be part of a single-threaded portion of the query plan, right? Those are not allowed to go parallel. Inserts are sometimes allowed to go parallel, depending on the right conditions, but in this case, they are not.
And then over here, what I'm going to show you is the same thing, except now going to a table variable. And we're going to output into that table variable. I'm just going to show you the estimated plan again. And this time, we do not have a parallel read portion over here. And if we go to the properties, we're going to see there, non-parallel plan reason, table variable transactions do not support parallel nested transaction. I don't know why transactions is plural here and singular here. You will have to ask the summer intern at Microsoft who does all of the SQL Server development these days. The same thing will happen if you use delete and you output to no target except the client. That's in our case, that's SSMS. If we get the estimated plan for this, there will also be no parallel read portion here. And if we go to the properties, we will see a different non-parallel plan reason. This time, DML query returns output to client. So that one is very clear about why it cannot go parallel. And with that, that is literally everything you need to know about the output clause. Can simplify archival processes. It's cooler with merge because you can access a column called action, a pseudo-column called action, which is probably what it's actually called, that will tell you if it was an insert, an update, or delete. And you can reference columns from the source of the merge, not just the target of the merge. That's something you can't do with regular insert or update or delete queries. The third is that you should be very careful what target you use with output, because depending on how much data you are modifying, you might really want some portion, the read portion of your query plan to happen with a parallel plan. It could slow down quite a bit if you lose that. So anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. I hope you learned something. I am now going to go bathe and enjoy the company of my family until I go to sleep. So with that, I'm also wrapping up the How to Write Query Correctly series. It's a playlist. You can watch them all. You should watch them all, especially if you're having trouble writing queries correctly. You just might learn a thing or two, or like 16, depending on where you're at in life. All right, cool. We did it. Thanks for watching.